I never considered myself a religious person. God, heaven, hell, those concepts felt distant, like stories meant for others but not for me. Maybe there was something beyond this life, but I never bothered to think about it. My world was simple, predictable. School, social media, late-night conversations with friends about trivial things. Life was about the present, about laughter, about making plans for the weekend, about scrolling through my phone until my eyes grew heavy with exhaustion. I lived in a town just outside Dallas, Texas, a place where life followed a rhythm as steady as the summer heat. Mornings were filled with rushed breakfasts and last-minute assignments. Afternoons were spent walking through the halls of Lincoln High School, dodging teachers who knew me by name but barely by my grades. My best friend Emma was my partner in crime. We laughed at the absurdity of school rules, made fun of our awkward classmates, and spent hours obsessing over the latest viral videos. If you had asked me back then what I feared most, I probably would have said failing a math test or missing out on a party. Death. That wasn't something I feared. It was something that happened to old people, something distant, something I deal with when I was 80, not at 17. That afternoon was just like any other. The sun hung lazily in the sky, casting long golden streaks on the sidewalks as Emma and I walked home from school. We were lost in conversation, laughing about a ridiculous rumor that had spread through campus. It was the kind of joke that wouldn't matter in a day or two, but at that moment, it was everything. We reached the intersection of Main Street and Clover Avenue, the busiest crosswalk in town. The signal flashed red, but the streets were unusually quiet. Without thinking, I stepped forward, my mind still lost in laughter, in that fleeting, meaningless moment. Then everything changed. The sound hit me first, a deep, guttural horn splitting through the air like a scream. Tires screeched, voices shouted. In an instant, my body was no longer my own. The impact was sudden, violent. I felt myself being thrown, weightless, like a doll tossed into the wind. The world blurred around me. Concrete, sky, Emma's horrified face. Then nothing. No pain. No sound. Just an unbearable silence. I expected agony, a rush of fear. But all I felt was an eerie stillness. My mind was awake, alert, but my body, it was gone. That was when I saw it. My body, lying on the asphalt. Emma was kneeling beside me, her hands shaking as she touched my shoulder. People were gathering, their faces pale with shock, their voices rising in panic. Someone was on the phone, calling for an ambulance. But I wasn't there. I was floating, watching. Something inside me shattered, a primal instinct screaming that this wasn't right. I tried to breathe, but there was no air. I tried to move, but there was nothing to move. I was weightless, untethered, watching my own life from the outside. And that was the moment it hit me. I was dead. Before we continue, I want to invite you to be part of this incredible community. If you're still here, it's because this story has touched you in some way. Subscribe, leave a like, and don't forget, if you want to be mentioned in our next video and receive a special message, comment your name and city below. Imagine thousands of people hearing your name, your moment, your story. I can't wait to see you in the next chapter. The realization hit me like a collapsing wave. I was dead. I tried to scream, but there was no voice. I tried to run back to my body, but there were no legs, no ground beneath me. I was weightless, hovering above the chaotic scene like a ghost trapped between worlds. Emma was shaking me, calling my name, her voice breaking into desperate sobs. A man in a blue jacket knelt beside her, pressing his fingers to my neck, his expression turning grim. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed, closing in like a slow-moving tide. This couldn't be real. Panic surged through me, but before I could even begin to grasp what was happening, I felt it. Force. It was pulling me, an invisible grip tightening around my very essence. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't kind. It yanked me backward with a power I couldn't resist, as if the universe itself had reached into my soul and claimed me. At first, I thought I was being taken to heaven, lifted into the light like all those near-death stories I had ignored my whole life. But there was no light, no warmth, only darkness. Suffocating, endless. I was falling, yet there was no ground beneath me, no wind, No gravity. Just a spiraling descent into a void so absolute it swallowed every sense I had ever known. Then the whispers began. They slithered through the darkness, merging, overlapping, whispering things I couldn't understand, but that filled me with an instinctual primal fear. Some were laughing, others sobbing, their voices crawling under my skin like ice. I wasn't alone. Something else was here. The cold seeped into me. Not the kind of cold that numbs your skin, but a deeper, more ancient cold that gnawed at my very soul. It was emptiness made manifest, a hunger that had existed long before I was born and would continue long after I was gone. Then I saw them. Figures. Shadowy, misshapen, moving just beyond the edges of my sight. They weren't human. Their bodies twisted and convulsed, their eyes burning like embers in the abyss. They were waiting for me. Something brushed against me, a sensation like claws scraping against my mind rather than my skin. Name. They were saying my name, twisting it, mocking it, calling me to them. I tried to fight, to move, to will myself back, but the darkness clung to me like tar. This wasn't a dream. This wasn't a hallucination. This was real. And I knew, without a doubt, that I did not belong here by accident. The darkness was alive. It wasn't just the absence of light. It had weight, a presence that wrapped itself around me like chains, tightening with every passing second. The voices continued, whispering, laughing, crying. Some pleaded, others mocked. They were everywhere and nowhere all at once. I tried to resist, to push against whatever force had pulled me into this abyss. But there was nothing to grasp, nothing to hold on to. I was utterly, completely powerless. Then the ground appeared beneath me. It was rough, jagged, burning, like searing coals pressed against my skin. A stench filled the air, thick and suffocating, a mix of sulfur and decay, as if the very air had rotted. I gagged, but there was no breath to choke on. And then I saw them. They crawled in the distance, figures writhing, twisting, their mouths open in silent screams. Some had once been human, of that I was sure, but whatever they were now, they had long since lost the shape of who they had been. Their eyes were empty voids, filled with nothing but endless torment. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. I wanted to scream, but there was no voice. I was trapped in a nightmare beyond nightmares. A presence loomed behind me. I couldn't see it, but I felt it. An overwhelming, consuming force of pure malice. It wasn't just watching me. It was waiting for me. Terror unlike anything I had ever known surged through me. This was real. This was happening. Voice. A single word, like a thunderclap cutting through the suffocating void. Stop. The darkness recoiled, shrieking, folding in on itself as if struck by a force it could not withstand. The ground beneath me trembled. The voices wailed in agony, and then, didn't flicker. It didn't hesitate. It exploded into existence. Blinding, overpowering, unstoppable. The shadows writhed, pulling away from it, screeching in a language I didn't understand but could feel deep inside my bones. It was as if the very essence of this place was being torn apart by a power it had no control over. And then, through the unbearable radiance, I saw him, standing in the center of the brilliance, untouched by the darkness, unwavering in his presence. I knew in an instant who he was. There was no need for introductions, no need for explanations. I had spent my whole life ignoring him, dismissing him as nothing more than an idea, a belief for others, a story that held no place in my world. But he was real, and he was standing before me. His gaze met mine, not with anger, not with condemnation, but with something far worse. Truth. The light surrounded him like fire, brilliant, consuming, yet it did not burn. It was not just illumination. It was revelation, exposing everything, leaving nothing hidden. I wanted to fall to my knees, but I had no body, no weight. I was nothing but awareness, a soul stripped bare before him. Jesus said nothing at first. He didn't need to. His eyes held me captive, and in that gaze I saw everything. Every lie, every selfish act, every moment I had ignored the truth standing right in front of me. I had never given God much thought. Religion was just something people followed to make themselves feel better. I had mocked those who prayed, rolled my eyes at those who spoke about faith. I thought it was all just wishful thinking. But standing before him now, I understood the depth of my mistake. It wasn't anger that pierced me. It wasn't wrath. It was the absolute weight of truth. There were no excuses, no arguments, no clever justifications. I had chosen my life, and I had chosen wrong. The visions began. They weren't memories. I wasn't just watching my past. I was feeling it. Every moment I had ignored the quiet pull in my heart. Every time I had silenced that voice telling me there was more. Every second I had wasted chasing distractions. It all played before me with excruciating clarity. I saw myself laughing at people who talked about God. I saw myself pushing aside that empty feeling inside, drowning it with entertainment, with noise, with anything that kept me from confronting the truth. And worst of all, I saw the moments I could have changed. The opportunities were there. Now, I have something special for you. If this story has reached your heart, leave a like and comment your name and city below. In the next video, I'll personally mention some of you with a special message. Just imagine hearing your name in front of thousands of people. This is your chance to be part of something bigger, to connect with this incredible community. I can't wait to see your name in the comments. The visions changed. I was no longer looking at my past. I was looking at the future. Before me stretched a world that I barely recognized. A place where darkness clung to the sky like a living thing, twisting and moving as if it had a mind of its own. The streets were burning, sirens wailing in the distance, but no one was running to safety. They weren't trying to escape. They were following something. Shadowy figures walked among them, faceless yet terrifyingly familiar, leading crowds of people as if guiding them toward something inevitable. Their movements were unnatural, distorted, almost hypnotic. And the people, they followed without hesitation. They weren't screaming. They weren't resisting. They walked in silence, eyes empty, bodies moving like puppets with invisible strings pulling them forward. And I knew. They had no idea where they were going. Terror gripped my soul. I wanted to cry out to warn them, but no sound came. I turned to Jesus, standing beside me in the unshaken radiance of his presence. "What is this?" I wanted to ask. But before I could speak, his voice came, not just to my ears but straight into my spirit. "This is what is to come." The weight of those words crashed over me. This wasn't just a vision. It was a warning. I turned back to the scene before me, my chest tightening with an overwhelming sense of urgency. The people marching into the unknown, they didn't know. They didn't know they were walking toward destruction. They didn't know they had a choice. I watched as some of them hesitated, a flicker of confusion crossing their faces. Chance. A moment of realization. But then the shadows whispered. And the hesitation faded. Their steps quickened, as if the pull had become even stronger. They had been given a chance to turn back. And they ignored it. I felt something inside me break. I couldn't look away. The people kept moving forward, blindly, unknowingly, choosing their own destruction. It wasn't forced upon them. It wasn't some unfair punishment. They chose it. And that was what terrified me the most. Jesus stood beside me, his presence unwavering, yet there was sorrow in his eyes. A sorrow deeper than anything I had ever seen. I turned to him, desperate for an answer. "Why don't you stop them?" His response was calm, but the weight of it shattered me. "They do not listen." A wave of understanding hit me. It wasn't that he didn't try. He had always been calling them. The signs were there, the truth had been spoken, but they brushed it aside. Just like I had. The vision shifted again, and I saw faces I recognized. People from my past, friends, acquaintances, people who had heard the truth but ignored it. Some had even mocked it, laughed about it, just as I once had. Now they were among the crowd, walking toward the darkness. And I couldn't reach them. I wanted to run to them, shake them, scream that it wasn't too late, that they could still turn back. But I knew the truth. They had already made their choice. A crushing sadness filled my chest. How many times had I ignored the warnings? How many times had I dismissed the idea that there was more? How many times had I convinced myself that I had plenty of time? Now I understood. The world was drowning in distractions. People were too caught up in their own lives, their own ambitions, their own entertainment to see what truly mattered. I had been one of them. And if I had died that day and never returned, this would have been my fate too. Then Jesus spoke again. You must tell them. I looked at him, my spirit trembling. But they won't listen. His gaze didn't waver. Some will. And that was enough. If this story has touched you, I want to invite you to be part of our community. We don't make money from these videos. We do this because we believe in it. If you want to support this mission, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. It's a small gesture, but it means the world to us. Together, we can share this message with more people who need to hear it. I could feel myself being pulled back. The vision, the burning sky, the people walking blindly into the darkness. It all began to fade. The weight of what I had seen still clung to me, wrapping around my soul like a fire that refused to be extinguished. I turned to Jesus, desperate, searching his face for something. Some reassurance, some hope. But he had already given me the answer. You must tell them. The words echoed inside me, deeper than anything I had ever known. It wasn't a request. It wasn't a suggestion. It was my mission. And then everything shifted. The light vanished. The ground beneath me dissolved, and suddenly I was falling. My eyes shot open. The world around me was blurry, unfocused. Ceiling, bright lights, the sterile scent of antiseptic and something else. Something heavier. Hospital. Voices filled the room, muffled at first, then growing clearer. My mother was sobbing. A doctor was speaking in a calm but serious tone. Emma was there, her face pale, her hands clutching mine as if she was afraid I would slip away again. I had been dead. For 3 minutes. 3 minutes in their world. An eternity in mine. Tears blurred my vision. How could I even begin to explain what I had seen? Who would believe me? The doctors would call it hallucinations. Some would say it was just my brain shutting down. Others would laugh, dismiss it as nothing more than a vivid dream. But I knew the truth. And I couldn't stay silent. Not anymore. First it was hard. When I told my family, they listened with polite patience, but I saw the doubt in their eyes. When I told my friends, some of them laughed, others avoided the subject altogether. But I kept speaking, because some did listen. Some pulled me aside when no one else was looking, asking for more details, whispering that they had felt something similar before, that they had always wondered that maybe, just maybe, there was more. And for those people I knew it was worth it. But talking about it came with consequences. The spiritual attacks began. At night, I felt a presence in my room, something watching me from the darkness. Sleep paralysis became a constant battle. Shadows whispered, trying to silence me, trying to make me forget. But every time the fear crept in, I spoke his name. Jesus. And every single time the darkness fled. That's when I truly understood. The name of Jesus has power. If something was trying this hard to stop me, it meant my mission was even more important than I had realized. I couldn't stop. I wouldn't stop. Because time was running out. This message found you for a reason. Don't stop here. The next video waiting for you is even more revealing, and it could change your life. Just click on the video that's appearing on your screen now. You need to see what's coming next. And before you go, leave a like and comment amen below so that you may continue to be blessed. I'll see you there. If you've made it this far, I want to take a moment to speak directly to you. You are incredible. Yes, you. The fact that you stayed with me through this journey, that you opened your heart to this message, shows that you are someone truly special. You are someone who seeks the truth, who refuses to live blindly, who understands that there is more to life than just the here and now. Not everyone has the courage to listen. Not everyone is willing to reflect. But you did. And that means something. It means that your faith is alive. It means that your soul is awake. It means that there is a reason you are here, a reason you found this message at this exact moment in your life. You are not alone. You are loved, and you are meant for something greater. I pray that blessings overflow in your life, that peace fills your heart, that your path is illuminated with wisdom and grace, that whatever burdens you are carrying, you find the strength to release them into the hands of the one who holds the universe. 'Cause you deserve good things. You deserve love. You deserve light. You deserve the fullness of faith that transforms lives. So never stop seeking. Never stop believing. And never let anyone tell you that your faith doesn't matter, because it does. And so do you. If this message touched you, let me know in the comments. Write, "I am blessed," and declare this over your life. And if you haven't yet, join our community by subscribing and leaving a like. We are here together, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.